Yes, it is that time of the week where we get together and we talk nothing but GarageBand. My name is Pete. This is Studio Live today, where my goal is to help you create, record, and release your best music. And on this show, we are talking about how to do that using GarageBand. We got some news and notes today, a bit of a home recording boom having an impact on stock levels of things as well. We'll talk a little bit about sharing music online and some tips around that and a few ideas in my rant of the week. Tip of the week will be all about copying your GarageBand projects, and the plugin of the week is something that I don't leave home without. Literally, it is always on every device that I own. But let us jump in and get started with the news and notes from the last week. And the talk around the GarageBand world, the chatter around the GarageBand virtual water cooler is still around these pro apps coming to iPad Pro. So Logic is the one. Logic Pro is what is being talked about, along with some other apps, along with Final Cut and Xcode. Will they actually be coming to the iPad Pro? And if so, when? From when it was first sort of revealed. And if you want to go back and find out more, Patrick from GarageBand Guy was on last week's show. We chatted about this in detail, but there's no new news here except that every person I talk to at the moment, everyone that I talk to about GarageBand says, "Oh, hey, did you know? Did you hear that Logic's coming to Logic's coming to iPad? Do you know when it's coming? Is it going to be here next week? Is it going to be on iOS 14? Is it?" And I'm like, I don't know. Nobody knows at this stage, and that's the problem. So whenever something new is announced or like is rumored or even announced, it's a little while before we actually get notified of what's actually going on. So, for instance, when iOS 13 came out, they said there that Apple would be deprecating inter-app audio support, so you'd only be able to use Audio Bus. But that hasn't happened yet, and that was a year ago. So there's always this lead in time when things are announced, or even when things are rumored, and to the announcement and then to the implementation. Like think about the iPhone SE 2. That was rumored for over 2 years between when it was actually said, "Hey, this is coming," to the actual release date. And most of the details were correct. And this is the thing, with so much communication and so many people knowing so much stuff, a lot of these rumors generally tend to be true, or if not true, at least close to the mark. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we see that sooner rather than later. What does that mean? So let's move on to what that means for the future of GarageBand. So will GarageBand continue to get updated? Will it continue to get new features, new sound packs, new things? Now, I was chatting with Patrick about this again last week, and the thing is, for the Mac version, the reason that GarageBand, and he speculated on this, the reason GarageBand hasn't been updated for a while is that as soon as they upgrade it too much, the gap between it and Logic becomes too small. And for those that don't know, GarageBand is free on a Mac, but it is a paid app. So for Logic, so if they want folks to upgrade from GarageBand up to Logic, then that's something that they need to keep in mind, that they don't want it to be too good. It sounds weird. They need to nerf their GarageBand to make the Logic proposition actually even better. That would be my concern with iOS too. Is at the moment there's no reason why Apple wouldn't put new features into GarageBand iOS. They're competing with no one. Well, they're competing with third-party developers, but as far as their software goes, there is no paid app. If you threw a version of Logic on there for $49, let's just say, pluck a number, then that could make things very different. GarageBand may freeze in time and not get updates in the future. So that's kind of my speculation of the way I think things would go. Is that such a bad thing? Well, my view is that the reason GarageBand hasn't been updated for quite a while is it does everything that you kind of need it to do, except what it doesn't do, which is things like master tracks and sends and buses and things. But let's not jump into that. But yeah, the point here is that I think GarageBand is capable right now, and I think that there's not any missing features that are absolute game changers. There's a few nice to haves, so maybe we'll see some updated versions with some of those nice to haves in the iOS world. Maybe we'll see a few tweaks to the Mac version, but yeah, don't wait, don't go, "Oh, I'll start creating music when GarageBand gets all these new features." I wouldn't be waiting around. You might be waiting a while. Let's talk a little bit about the home recording boom that's happening at the moment and some of the flow-on effects. So there's a great article over at Rolling Stone. I will put it in the description of this video. If you're watching on the replay, it'll already be there. If you're watching live, just go to search Rolling Stone, Quarantine DIY Music Renaissance. And what has happened basically is in the last 3 months, not surprisingly, there's been a few things that happened. The searches for the term GarageBand and mobile recording and home recording have gone up 50 to 100%, depending on the search term. The amount of sales being made through Amazon, through Sweetwater, through pretty much every retailer have increased significantly, and people are getting very excited about recording in their home studio. What's basically happened is that everyone else that didn't use home and mobile recording before, that had to rely on like writing their song and then going to a studio and booking time and playing and recording, suddenly went, hey, I don't want to miss out on these opportunities. I want to get this done now. So what we're finding is a lot more people are going, oh, okay, I didn't realize that I could just grab my iPhone, plug in an audio interface, and record at the same quality as my Mac or PC. And other people are going, oh, I didn't realize I could just get an audio interface and a microphone, plug into my computer, and record high quality audio that way. So the challenge here, I guess, is going to be for studios. And that's obviously where, but I mean, that's been happening for a while. That's like saying, yeah, let's not develop the internet because it might damage the newspaper industry. I know that sounds a bit harsh, but we know what's happening with newspapers and pro studios. It's a prime opportunity for them to offer other services. So I still think there's a niche there where someone who's a pro engineer in a pro studio, if someone wants something done and they don't have the skills to mix or to master or to arrange a song, they can still offer those. I just think that when we come out of this, like a lot of other things at the other end, the new normal will be creating your tracks, or at least writing your demos, at least doing all of it, all that in your own home studio. I think there'll be a lot more people recording at home, and yeah, that can only be a good thing because it means more music being created. That's my 2 cents anyway. Tell me what you think. Do you think that that's all completely wrong? Do you think it shouldn't be that way? I'm guessing if you're watching a show all about GarageBand, you're probably on a similar wavelength to me. But the beautiful thing is, we're all allowed to have our own opinions. That's my opinion. Would love to hear yours. Let's jump in and talk about a rant of the week, shall we? And I wanted to cover. Well, I was going to cover something originally, but I kind of talked about it yesterday, and that was sharing your music online. So I've made a last second pivot, and I'm going to talk about something different because I've been seeing a few posts lately from a few folks on the GarageBand users group, on home recording forums that I'm on, a bunch of different places, and it's about perfectionistic tendencies. And a lot of those of us who are creative tend to have perfectionistic tendencies, which is that we want things to be quote unquote perfect. And here's the problem with perfection. I've ranted on this before. The problem with perfection is it's unachievable, and not only is it unachievable, it's actually not. It's subjective. So there's no objective perfect. The perfect metal song, I would probably listen to and go, I don't like that. The perfect country and western song, I would listen to and go, I don't like that. I don't think it's perfect because I don't like those genres of music. And there's people that I could create the perfect singer-songwriter song with beautifully recorded guitar and vocals and really meaningful lyrics and whatever else. And someone could go, that's great, but I don't like that style of music. So that's point number one. If we're chasing perfectionism, perfect for who? And that's the thing. Some of the things that I've produced, and I've said this before, but the things that I've produced that I'm most proud of, that I've spent hours on, that I've curated and cultured, especially doing videos. I'll sit down and I'll spend like 2, 3 days scripting, recording, editing, releasing a video tutorial. I think it's not perfect, but I think it's really good, and it doesn't resonate with people. Contrary to that, the last few weeks I've been doing these Ask Me Anything shows where I hit the go live button and I say, ask me questions. And I sit here for 2 hours and I answer people's questions. And that's resonated with a lot of people. So to me, that's showing that some people might find that format is what they like, and it's not perfect, but it's in their zone, and other people may not. So what's my point out of all of this? Well, it's that you need to be somewhere in between. So if you are chasing perfection, you do need to actually start letting go a little bit and releasing your music and sharing your music. Share a rough version of it if you want to, or polish it up, or just say, hey, this isn't quite done, or I'm feeling this. You'll be super surprised that when you actually put it out there and say, if you wanted to share a song, say, and you said, hey folks, I want to share this song. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm personally feeling like it's not good enough. Can you help me out? Let me know what sounds good, what doesn't sound good. And people are generally really, really nice in those situations and really will give you the support that you need to get things done. There will be the 1% factor. I call it the 1% D factor that you will get on the internet, but don't worry about that. It's the vast majority of people will be very, very cool. And here's the thing, the 1% D factor will usually get shot down by the 99% of people that are super cool. So don't stress too much about that side of thing. If a stranger on the internet says you suck, well, welcome to the club. You kind of haven't, if you haven't had a stranger tell you suck on the internet, you're probably not sharing enough stuff. That's my view anyway. So yes, don't chase perfect. But at the same token, um, the opposite problem, and I'll just rant on this for like 30 seconds and then we'll move on. The opposite problem is sometimes I see folks who are not actually pushing themselves to get the best result. So instead of spending a few days to get something that sounds really good, they're sharing one, two, three things every day. They're like, "Hey man, made a new beat," and I'm like, "Oh cool, yeah. When have you been working on this for a while?" It's like, "Oh no, I sat down at 9 o'clock this morning and 11 o'clock. Here's my new beat." And I'm like, "Well, that can happen. That can be the case, but with that, you tend to find that." Again, without being super critical, that it kind of feels unfinished and it feels like there's more that could be done with it. So, yeah, it's a bit weird that the majority of the things I see are people on both ends of the spectrum. The majority of people are the first version, which is that we want to be too perfectionistic and we want things to be perfect and we want to do the best we possibly can, therefore, we don't share. And then there's this sort of different flip side, which is sharing everything all the time that may not quite be finished, and that maybe you need to work on a little bit more. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Let me know. Always interested in your thoughts around this sort of stuff. Speaking of your thoughts around this sort of stuff, let's jump in and say g'day to the folks who are here live. We've got Gino Therese, who is here from Chicago. Hello to you. Oh, excuse me. Rappers sing, not yeah. Rappers sing, not turn their back. Hello. Hey Pete. Hello to you. I've got a quote here from Dom. Hello, Dom Thatchin. Billie Eilish and brother cleaned up at award show at the end of last year, recording at home. There was an upsurge even before the lockdown. My take on the home studio popularity. Yeah, absolutely. So here in Australia, there's an artist called Gautier who had some really good songs. You probably know his Somebody That I Used to Know song. A lot of that was created in a home studio. Billie Eilish creating in a home studio. I think the new breed of artists are less concerned about doing things the old way and the proper way. And that's the thing. My view on this stuff, and it's hard because I know I frustrate people when they want to argue with me and they want to tell me why things have to be one way. My result with this is do what makes you happy, do what works for you. There's no right, wrong, yes, no, good, bad. It's just whatever works for you. Dan Marino is here. Hello, good to have you here on board. We've got Sayman Music Covers. Greetings from Germany. Hello to you. We've got Paul Hogholmes. Exactly, I can go on, and I never think it's good enough. You need to know when to stop. Then I go and mess it up completely. And that's the other thing. Not only is it diminishing returns, as Paul says here, it's that once you actually continue too far past, you can actually do more damage than good. Have you ever had a mix where you record your demo and it's sounding great and you're like, wow, this is going to be a really good song. And then you go in and you start EQing, you start adding compression, you add reverb, you add delay, you mix things around, you add another instrument here, you add an effect there. And then you go, wait a minute. You go back to that first mix copy you had, because of course you'd back up and have version control, and you're like, it sounded better as a demo. And it's the worst thing. But yeah, you can very, very easily go too far with things like that. Hello, Krabby Boy. Good to have you here. We'll scroll on up. Got some more comments from folks. Jeff said, what I've learned in my couple of weeks of doing this is that it's one thing to come up with some good ideas, 8, 16, 24 bars, but quite another to finish a whole song, 100%. And finishing is what helps you. Finishing is what you need to be aiming for. And when you finish, it just means that you can share and then move on to the next thing. I think we get a bit too caught up thinking to ourselves, this is the only song I can ever possibly release and create. It's not the case. You've got plenty of songs in you. Hello to Low Walker. Since when do you use GarageBand? So I started using GarageBand, I looked at my watch. I started using GarageBand around about 30 minutes ago. I started using GarageBand about 5 years ago. So around about 2015, 2014 maybe. And yeah, haven't looked back. It's great. Great platform. Very, very cool. I'll just see if we've got Dan Thorpe is here from the UK. Hello to you, dialing in for a late night. I hope you're having a cup of tea and getting ready to settle in for the night. But thank you all for being here. We're here live. If you want to join me live, you can. Yeah, we are here every Sunday afternoon if you're in the US and Canada, Sunday evening for those in the UK, and Monday morning for folks like me who are crazy and get up at the crack of dawn here in Australia. Alrighty. Okay. How's the poll? So Dan says, "How's the poll looking for the GarageBand reaction show?" Yeah, that's a good question. So I did ask the question on my poll on my YouTube channel here. If you go to on a mobile, if you go to the creator, what is it called? The community tab. I did have a poll. Let's get a live check of the poll. So of 131 votes, 84% of people. So I asked, would you like to see a reaction or review show for music from Studio Live Today viewers? And 84% of people said yes, and only 16% said no from 131. So if you haven't voted on that, jump over and vote. But it looks like we will at least be piloting or experimenting with some sort of show. I never thought I'd do a reaction show, but what I hope it would be is, because what I do for folks, if you email me a song, I've usually not got a heap of time. So what I do is I listen to the song and I'll basically focus in and I'll go usually 3 and 3 or something like that, because I like the number 3. I'll go, what are 3 things that I think are working really well in this song? And then what are 3 things that I think you could consider changing, consider working on, consider developing? And I think if we approach it from that point of view, I think that might give folks some real sort of feedback and ideas. I know we're getting a bit off track here, but it's probably relevant to the rant topic we just had, which is that here's the problem. You get 2 types of feedback, generally. You get the people that want to be really nice, like your mum, who will just say, oh, that's lovely, well done, yeah, it's perfect. And then you'll get other people that just go, yo, dude, that sucks. You should make hip hop. And it's like, neither of those really help you. The first one's nice. The second one's just not appropriate or not helpful. But what would be useful is for someone to say these are the things that are working well, that I think are working well, again, because it's all subjective. And here's some things that I think you might be able to explore or work on. And again, keeping in mind that is all subjective, 100% subjective. People forget that. People forget that in general on the internet. I think that their opinion, I wrote a song about it called Your Opinion, but their opinion is their opinion and yours is yours. And you don't have to agree on everything, people. You really don't. Like, anyway, I could go into another rant mode about, people not being aligned on things and then spending all their time arguing with people whose mind they're not going to change. I am not going to, someone who's deeply into EDM and trap beats, I'm not going to suddenly make a fan of singer-songwriter acoustic music by telling them why it's better. You go and listen to trap and EDM music and I'll go and create some singer-songwriter stuff. Anyway, let's continue on. Tip of the week this week. So I get a lot of questions about this, and I wanted to quickly just give some tips here around copying GarageBand projects. So whether you're on a Mac or whether you're on an iPad or an iPhone or an iPod Touch, doesn't matter. What if you want to copy or share or back up your GarageBand projects? Well, there's a few things to think about. The number one thing is GarageBand project files are not compatible with many cloud storage platforms. Say that again because it's super important. If you've got a GarageBand project file, do not copy it to Google Drive. Do not copy it to Dropbox. Do not copy it to OneDrive. You need to firstly compress it, to zip it up, and then copy that zip file over to the place you need it to go. So that's an important thing to keep in mind, because as soon as you start trying to copy those .band project files, you'll get problems with file corruption. You'll go to reload it later and put it back on your Mac or your iPhone or your iPad, and it just won't work. So zip it up. Very simple to do. In Mac, just go to your Mac, your Explorer, what do they call it? The Finder. I don't use a Mac. Zip it up, and the same on your iPhone or iPad. Go to the Files app, tap on it, hit the compress button. It'll compress it into a zip file. You can even do multiple. So you want to back up like 10 of your projects, back them all up into one zip file, upload that to Dropbox or to Google Drive, and you're backed up. You're good to go. Other ways, not to cough, other ways, USB drives, of course. On a Mac, very simple, USB hard drive. Again, I'd probably zip it up, even though if it's a Mac formatted drive, the GarageBand projects will be fine. Zipping it up just tends to sort of protect it from having any sort of file issues. The same with your iPhone or iPad. If you've got iOS 13 or higher, you can plug in a USB drive using something like, you knew it was coming, the Lightning to USB 3 adapter. You can use that to plug in USB flash drives. You can learn all about this stuff. If you search my name, Pete Johns, and USB drive, you'll find out how to use those. If you search Pete Johns and share or backup, there's a heap of videos there about how to share, backup, and keep your GarageBand files super safe so that you don't lose them. The other final expert pro tip that I want to give you is there's a couple of apps that allow you to do Wi-Fi file sharing. So there's an app called Documents by Readle or Readle. I never know how to say that. You can download that for free. I've done a video about that, and you can basically set up a connection on your Wi-Fi network very quickly and easily. You then just go to a website and you can transfer files to and from your Mac, your PC, your iPhone, your iPad. It's really all cool and integrated. And another app called Audio Share does the same thing and does a bunch of other stuff. And that's a really good segue, because let's jump into my plugin or app of the week, which is Audio Share. So I'll have a quick sip of coffee and then we'll talk all about Audio Share. What Audio Share does, it's an audio recorder. It is an audio sharing device. It's an app. I'm not explaining it well. That is the one cool app that it has. Let's start this all again. Take two. It's not like we're live or anything, is it? Take two. Audio Share is a fantastic app. It's got 4 really cool features. You can record with it. It's a high quality audio recorder. We'll talk about that in a moment. It also allows you to use Wi-Fi file sharing to share between your Mac, PC, and devices. You can copy your files around your iPhone or iPad. So anytime you've had trouble trying to get audio from one app to another, Audio Share can help with that. And it can also convert your audio. So if you've got a WAV file, if you've got a video file, if you want to trim your audio, if you want to fade your audio, it can do some very cool basic audio editing. So if you are creating in GarageBand, especially on your iPhone or iPad, it's kind of the perfect companion app. That's my view anyway. So it is a paid app, but it is $3.99 US. It's $5.99 here in Australia. What would it be? It'd probably be £4.99 and euros, around that mark usually. If you get one out, if you've got $10 to spend, this would be the first and second. I'd just say buy it twice somehow, even though that's not possible. But yeah, it is the coolest app. I even use it when I create videos on my PC here. I will use Audio Share, even though it's an audio app, to share the video files. So if I create video files here of tutorials of my screen, and then I shoot a video on my camera, and then I shoot another video on my other iPhone, I just send them all in via Audio Share into one folder, and then I edit them on my phone in LumaFusion, which is the video editing app that I use. So yeah, Audio Share is super, super handy. I highly recommend it. And if you haven't already got it, which you probably do if you're a mobile creator, then jump on it and get there. And of course, they're not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by Audio Share. I just love the product, and I've been using it forever, and it does a really, really good job. We are coming towards the end here, and what I wanted to do is talk about, at the end here, I normally do a resource of the week, and I'm going to be a bit self-serving. I do like to say on these shows, I talk 95%, I just talk about things that I think are going to help you, and then I take 5 minutes or 5% of the time, not even 5 minutes, to just tell you about something that I'm doing and I provide. And if you are new to the channel, or if you're not familiar with my website, over at studiolivetoday.com, I have a bunch of stuff that you can actually check out. So I thought I would just show you a quick tour of some of the resources I have here. So if you go to studiolivetoday.com, I've made it nice and simple for you here on the front page. That here's the things that you can do. You can go to YouTube, which is where you are right now, unless you're watching on Facebook. My gear guide. So that's really handy, because a lot of folks come to me and they say, what do you use? What should I use? What can I use with GarageBand? And all the stuff in the gear guide is class compliant, which means it's been used and tested with an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac, a PC. It means that it doesn't need drivers to run, and means you can use it on all of your platforms. You can also follow me on all the different socials, which we have there, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the LinkedIns, my own music that I produce you can check out, and the live show schedule is very handy, so that you can catch this as well as all the other live shows. And finally, there is my email address where you can inquire about all of the different things that I do here on the channel. So I just wanted to point that out because I get a lot of people that ask me things, and not that I don't want to answer questions, but a lot of the stuff is actually available here. So a lot of the things that you may need to know, you can come in here, you can look at the gear guide, you can look at the YouTube channel, obviously, for the tutorials. The one thing I'm missing here, which I need to add in, and I'll do that today, is my GarageBand FAQ. So if you do go to studiolivetoday.com slash, let's just show you this real quick, slash GarageBand, this will probably be the place where it will be most useful for those of you who are especially getting started, but even using GarageBand. Out of the way menu. So this is at the top here. I've got an overview, some videos there about getting started, what is GarageBand, how to set up. These two playlists are my quick jams, which are little 2 to 5 minute tutorials, little bite-sized chunks that help you get started, and my essentials playlist there. And then we got a whole bunch of questions and answers down here in alphabetical order. You can scroll on through and you can learn how to do all the different things in GarageBand. So I just wanted to show you that one here. Like I say, just something that I've put together to help you, and it is all 100% free. There is a mailing list you can join, but you don't have to join it. Nothing's behind a paywall. Nothing's in any sort of registration or joining site. It is all just there for you to use for free to get the best out of your home and mobile recording. That is going to do it for this show. I hope you all have had a wonderful weekend and a wonderful week ahead. If you're catching up on the replay or you're watching this in the future, how about that local sporting team? Didn't they do an amazing thing that time at that place? Head over to Studio Live today for all of the other news and views and information about home recording and everything in between. And I'll see you on the next one.